If you have ever wondered why every Java program starts with this mysterious line, public static void main with parentheses containing string array args, then you are in the right place. My name is Akash Arora, and today we'll have a complete understanding of each component and why it is absolutely essential for your Java application. We'll break down the main method into its individual components and explore why each keyword is necessary. And we'll also understand how the JVM is using it to execute your program. Every Java application must have this exact line of code, public static void main. This single line of code serves as the entry point of your Java application. Now think of it as the front door of your JVM, using it to enter your house and start executing your program. Now, you might be wondering why this specific combination of words is required. Why can't we just write main and be done with it, just like we are doing in C or C++? The answer lies in how Java and JVMs are designed to work together. Each word in the signature has its specific purpose. And if any of them is going missing or in the spelling is wrong, your program will simply won't run. The first keyword that we encounter is public. So this is what we call an access modifier, and it determines basically who can access or your method and use it. So when we say your method is public, this means that it can be accessed from anywhere in your program, and most importantly from outside your class where it is defined. Now, why does the main method needs to be public? So when you run your Java program by typing Java followed by your class name in the command line, the JVM needs to find and execute the main method. The JVM is essentially basically an external code or an entity that operates outside of your class. If main method weren't public, the JVM would not have any permission to access it. Just like you wouldn't be able to enter someone's home because the door is locked and you don't have a key, right? Now think of the public keyword as making your main method as the front door of your house. It needs to be accessed from the outside for visitors. In this case, the JVM wants to enter your code to execute. Now, without this public access modifier, the JVM would encounter a security barrier and it would not be able to start your program, and which would result in a runtime error. Now, the next word is static. This is perhaps the most critical keyword to understand here, and it relates to how Java handles the objects and memory management. When we declare a method as static method, we are telling Java that this method belongs to a class itself, not to any specific instance or an object of the class. So, here is why this is important for the main method. So, when your Java program starts, absolutely nothing exists yet. No objects have been created, no instance have been instantiated, no memory has been allocated to any of the object data. The JVM needs to call the main method to begin the program execution. But if main method were not static, the JVM would need to first create an object for that class to call that main method. Correct? But this creates what we call a chicken and egg problem. How can JVM create an object when the code to create an object has not been executed yet? The answer is it cannot. So that is why static methods are loaded into memory when the class is first loaded by the JVM, making them immediately available for the execution without requiring any object creation. So when you are declaring any method as a static method, it becomes a class level method rather than an instance level method. This means you can call it using the class name without ever creating its object. So the JVM takes advantage of this feature to call your main method and start your program execution. So third word is void. In Java, every method must specify what type of data it will return to the code it calls it. The void keyword is so special because this means that method is not going to return anything at all. So the main method's job is to execute your program logic, not to return any data to the JVM. So the once your program execution gets complete, the JVM will simply terminate the entire process. But this does not mean that your program cannot communicate with the outside world. If your program needs to indicate that there is an success or an failure to the operating system, you can still use system.exit with the specific code, maybe like system.exit with the 0, which will typically might indicate that successful completion has occurred, or you want to specify that system.execute -1, which might mean that some error has occurred. So, but the main method does not return any value directly. So, so basically the main method does not return any value directly, but it orchestrates the program at the execution of your entire program. So now, fourth keyword is main. So this is not an arbitrary choice by a Java developer. It is a specific identifier that the Java virtual machine is programmed to look for when the starting of the program. So when you run a Java program using the command line Java, your employee class or something, then the JVM goes through a very specific process. It loads your class into the memory, then search for a memory method named exactly main with the exact signature that we are discussing currently. But if the JVM does not find this method with the exact name, then it will throw a runtime error and the program will not start. So the choice of main as a method name is both practical and historical, because clearly it indicates that this is the main entry point of your program and it maintains the consistency also, which was being used by the C and C++. So the programmer won't find it difficult while switching. Now, the last thing is string array args, or we can also call it string args array. Both are a valid syntax in Java basically. This is one of the main important question. So in the public static void main, what are the other ways you can write this whole keyword? So this is the only difference that a developer can change by their own will, but these both are valid signatures. So this parameter basically represents that an array of string that contain command line argument are passed through the program whenever it is starting. So what if the question might arise, what if my program does not need any command line argument? That's a great question. But the answer is that the parameter must be present regardless of whether you are using it or you are not using it. The JVM is expecting this exact method signature. If the parameter is missing, the JVM won't recognize this as the main method and this will not be a valid main method. Now, the program name args is basically a convention short for argument, okay, which is just for making it readable for the developer. Now, let me explain you how a command line argument might work. So, when you run a Java program from the command line, you can pass additional information to it. For example, if you type Java, my program, Aakash, and then Arora, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right now, the argument contain basically three different elements. My first name, my second name, last name, and my employee ID maybe. So now your program can access these three values and use them to modify its behavior. So in the internal code might have some if else's based on the employee ID or first name or last name. So these values which I passed from the command line argument, I can use them into my code. So this can be used to change the behavior of the code. Your source code file with the .java extension is compiled by the Java compiler into bytecode, which is then stored into a .class file. This bytecode is platform independent representation of your program that the JVM can understand. Next, when you run your program, the JVM startup and begin the class loading process. The JVM locates the class file and loads it into the memory. At that point, any static method and variables are initialized and or made to use that are available for use. So the JVM then performs a crucial search operation. It looks for a method with this exact same signature, public static void main string array arg, within your class. This search is very specific. Every component must match this exactly. This method must be public so the JVM can access it. Static so that it can be called without creating an object. Void so no return value is expected. Name word name main so the JVM knows that this is the entry point of the program and it must accept the string array parameter for command line argument. Once the JVM finds its method, it calls it and passing the command line argument as the args parameter. At this point, your program logic begins executing. The main method becomes the starting point of your program. And finally, when the method completes its execution, either by reaching the end of the method or by calling system.exit, the JVM will terminate the entire program and return the control back to the operating system. The main method signature represents a carefully designed contract between your program and the JVM. This ensures that the Java program can run consistently across different platform and environment. And that was it for today. So, if this video helped clarify the main method for you, please give a thumbs up or subscribe for more Java programming tutorials. Understanding the main method is just the beginning of your whole Java journey. In our next video, we'll explore more object-oriented concepts and how to structure larger Java application beyond the main method. Please leave a comment below if you have any question about the main method or suggestion for the future topics we would like to cover. I read every comment. I would love hear it from the fellow Java enthusiasts. Thank you for watching. Happy coding.